I'm here with Rob Harvey, and we are going to be discussing mediums and mediumship today. But the first question I've got to ask Rob is about his own background. So, Rob, how does someone come to be a medium? What is your background?
My background, I suppose I was lucky. I had aunts, uncles, and grandparents who were all mediums. So from a very young age, from about 6 years old, I sat in circles, didn't understand what was going on. And at the time, it was really weird for me. But it was how I was brought up. So my mind was open to it. So I was lucky to sit in these circles and saw amazing things being taken place. These were trance circles, so it's quite an old-fashioned form of mediumship. So I was brought up with that, and my mind was very open to it. And we can all sense things, but we're not normally trained to sense things.
Right.
And in our lives, if your children sense something in the bedroom when they're very young, we tell them they're not seeing something. So we sort of do the opposite to training with our children, which is understandable. But at the time I was 18 years old, it was obvious I was a medium, what was taking place with me. Until when I was 28 years old, most of my aunts and uncles and grandparents have all passed over. And then I met Betty Redwood not far up the road, which I didn't realise she was around here, who was probably one of the best mediums in the country. Okay. She was running the church, and she trained me for 20 years to be an all-round medium. And then since that time, I've been teaching for about the past 15 years and doing all sorts of other things with mediumship.
Wow. So I'm sure a lot of our viewers may be a little confused about this. We hear the term psychic and medium interchangeably. Are they one and the same? Is there a difference?
No, there is a difference between the two. In a situation perhaps where you have a congregation in front of you, on the psychic level, you can pick up a lot of information about the person in front of you. Now, that's nothing astounding. I mean, we all meet people in our lives and we can sense to a degree things about the people.
Like intuition.
Yes, yeah, exactly that. And psychic level is taking it one step further. The point is that when you're doing clairvoyance, you may pick up something psychically, not realizing it. But there are some people that work well on the psychic level, but they're not a medium as such because they're not in contact with those on the other side. They're not sensing information from those who have passed over. That's what being a medium is.
Okay. So with your wealth of information, I have to ask you this because I know a lot of people are very interested in this. And I remember the 1984 movie Ghostbusters. And
yes.
This has become a phenomenon, has it not? People trying to hound down entities. What is a ghost?
Ghost is someone like you and me. People seem to make it out into entertainment, which is absolutely a dreadful thing to do. We have free will during our lives to do whatever we want during our lives here. And there's a lot of people that when they die, they may be confused. They may not necessarily believe in life after death. The average person, to put it in context, when they die, they pass on to the next world. They will meet their relatives, and there is the next world, and it moves on to the next world. But you have free will. So with all the situations and the spirits and ghosts that I've removed, nearly every single one, there's a reason why the person is still there. Sometimes they don't want to leave the premises. Sometimes children, sometimes in awkward situations, if I can put it like that, don't know they died. You can have someone who died very quickly, who does not believe in anything whatsoever. And so it's their free will to stay in that place. So with myself, when someone has a problem with a ghost in their house and they want the ghost removed, whatever, it's a privilege for me to do it, first of all. But the point is, it's someone like you and me. They're in that place and they've chosen not to leave. They need to be moved on. So in simple terms, what I will do is I don't necessarily have to visit the place. But the point is, it sounds very strange, but a ghost in the house, they know who a medium is. They can tell who is sensing them. So you may have hundreds of people walk in the house. It makes no difference to the spirit whatsoever, but they can sense someone who can sense them. And in most cases, I can sense them, and I will ask some of their friends who have passed over to come back again to talk to them. And you think, well, this is a bit strange. But the point is then they choose to leave. People are talking to them, and they choose using their own free will to move on. And immediately you have the question, why can't their friends come back straight away anyway and talk to them? And that would seem logical. But the thing is, we have free will, and our free will whatever your beliefs are, cannot be interfered with. You cannot interfere with someone's free will. If someone dies and they live in the house and they don't want to leave, that is their choice. That's free will. They're not forced out. So in that situation, if you bring back some friends, and that's what I can do, it takes place, and they talk to them, they choose to leave. The end result is there's no more strange feelings in the house, the spirit has moved on, and in several cases I've come across where people are about to leave the house. Once this is done, they stay in there. And the point is, that's practical, that's kind. Mm-hmm. To go into a place with a prayer and force someone to leave is no different to forcing you or me out of our houses. That's what it is. It's their choice to be there, and that is tormenting them because they are just someone, could be perfectly normal. They don't have to be evil or anything else. They've chosen to stay. So what I can do by bringing them back is their own free will then, and then they leave, and then they move on to the next world.
So it can be quite traumatic, especially if people are trying to hunt them down and record them and don't have maybe that understanding.
It's dreadful. You think, anybody in their own house, if they choose not to leave after they've died, and then people come in and treat them like a different species, something else, absolutely horrible. You would never do that on the earth plane here with anybody who would treat someone like that. And yet someone passes over and they end up a ghost because they choose not to move on, and then all these people torment them. Absolutely dreadful.
My goodness. And so, is there such a thing as evil and an evil entity? Does this exist?
Yes, evil does exist. A lot of people like to think, or don't want to think, that evil exists. The thing is, you have to think of this quite practically. On the earth plane, we have good and bad people. We all know, or we see on television, whatever, good and bad people. And what people don't understand is when you die and you pass over to the next world, there's all sorts of worlds over there. If you're a very good person, doesn't matter what your belief is or understanding or anything else, if you've had a good life, that's the important thing, you go to a nicer place. If you've been an evil, horrible person on the earth plane, where you go to is a different place. It is not the same. You can't all go to the same place. So how you live your life dictates where you go to. I mention that first of all because, on the earth plane, you have good and bad people. You walk down local town, you have good and bad people. You don't immediately trust everybody around you.
Right, yeah.
When you pass over, you don't automatically move on to heaven or the next world. There are a lot of people that hang around because you have free will. You wouldn't describe them as a ghost as such, simply because they're not staying in one place.
Right, okay.
So around us now, there are loads of different souls. There are souls who have passed over and come back again. There are loved ones around us. You look at the picture of your loved ones, often you can sense them. So there's good and bad around us all the time. We are protected by our loved ones, by our guides, our helpers. But the point is, you don't trust everything that is around you. There is good and bad, which is why you have to be aware that evil does exist. There's evil people, they pass to the other side. Evil does exist, and they don't always move on straight away. So however you want to look at it, by trusting in your loved ones, your guides and helpers around you, by saying prayers. And that like attracts like. If you are a good person, you tend to attract good beings around you and love people around you. But there are situations that often I have to sort out where people perhaps have sat in circle or done something and even go to a place where there could be an evil ghost or spirit in there, and they walk in there and, oh, this is fun. But then that evil can take advantage of that person because the person going in there and opening themselves up, oh, what's here? And depending what's around them can draw too close. And this is when people, can get something evil very close to them, controlling their lives. It does take place. So we have to be aware of it. I'm not trying to scare everybody, but I mean, you don't walk down your local street and trust everybody in the street. Right. You just don't do it. And it's the same with those around us.
And so some of those people that are more evil and make bad choices and are not nice to people or others on this earth, when they pass, then they retain who they are. They don't have an illumination. They pass.
No, when a lot of people like to think that when you pass over, everything's sorted and everything's wonderful. It's not like that. Who you are is who you are. And when you pass on to the next world, those around you have spiritual sight, which means they can see who you are. You can't hide. Okay. Here in physical, we can put fancy clothes on and drive a fancy car. We can pretend to be someone we're not actually, if you see what I mean. But when you pass over to the next world, who you are is who you are, and that is it. You can't hide. Now, it doesn't matter about what religion you believe in or anything else whatsoever. If you have been a good person, you have a good heart, you will progress much faster. Now, this isn't this. You could say it's my belief, but I've seen that when people would come around for a reading in my house. When that takes place, you often, when you're doing reading, someone who led a good life, someone who is a good person, whatever their beliefs are, anything else, it's far easier for them to draw back to the earth plane and pass on messages to their loved ones. Okay. Someone who has been horrible, whatever they've done on the earth plane, it can be really hard for them to draw close because they've seen reality, and eventually they look in the mirror to see who they are. And then when they draw close to the earth plane again, the memories of what they did comes flooding back to them. So it's very, very difficult. So as a medium, you're in a very privileged position because people who live good lives can draw in so much quicker. But someone who hasn't proves to me all the time that they didn't live a good life. They come back to say sorry, and it's far harder for them on the other side.
Oh my goodness. Well, thanks so much, Rob, for giving us some illumination about that. That's definitely food for thought. We'd love to know your thoughts and for you to send us your stories. I'm sure a lot of you have had all kinds of experiences. So do let us know and contact the information at the bottom of the footage there. We know your time is precious. Thanks for spending time with us.